It is great to be with everybody. I'm Quentin Lucas, and we are here to celebrate what I think are important efforts that show Kansas City, Missouri's commitment to supporting everyone during this time. We have always worked on ways to get people in housing, to make sure that they can stay in housing, to make sure that it's affordable, but also to make sure that when people are having rough times, we have a way to help them out. I want to particularly thank so many of my friends who are behind me. We'll talk to some of them today. Journey to New Life, Restart, so many others that each day are making a big impact in our community. I have a few things that are in particular for us to announce. Then we'll have a few other speakers, then I'll come back and answer some questions. May also have a few comments on our COVID-19 vaccination process and distribution issues and concerns that I might be having. Today we're announcing that the City of Kansas City, Missouri will be appropriating $4.5 million to support rental assistance throughout our community.
Yes.
This is to make sure, thank you, I agree,
Right.
I agree. We are working with organizations throughout our city to make sure that that money gets to families and children and so many who need it most. I grew up moving around. I grew up knowing that sometimes it was tough for my mother to pay the full rent or make ends meet. And I also grew up knowing how hard it is if you have to relocate. So instead of having people get to a point where they're confronted with homelessness, instead of creating situations where people need to move, we want to be that bridge. We want to fill that gap, and that's so much of what Kansas City is working on today. This funding is part of a $14.8 million receipt of funding that we've gotten thanks to the hard work of so many people who work for our city. John Wood, our Director of Housing and Neighborhood Services, our new City Manager, Brian Platt, but we also have to make sure we thank our federal delegation. Emmanuel Cleaver, who when he was mayor was somebody who always cared about these issues in Kansas City. We've been so lucky to have him in the United States Congress working on them. Our senior senator, Roy Blunt, who's worked hard to make sure that we have funding to support issues like this. As we talk about the stimulus bill, as we talk about infrastructure, what I always think about is the most important stimulus, the most important infrastructure is housing. Is having those services to make sure that people can take care of themselves and their families. And that's why the city is so excited to partner with these organizations today. To apply for these funds, any Kansas Citian, you can always call us. You can always go to 311, call us, look for resources. But a lot of people don't like to call anymore, particularly sometimes the younger they get. So we've set up a website. It is kcmo.gov/rent-help. Again, that's kcmo.gov/rent-help. And our goal is very simple, to make sure that everybody who's in need during this time has an opportunity long before you're talking about homelessness, long before you're talking about evictions, long before you're talking about so many of the other challenges we have. We want to make sure people have a place that they can stay. Morgan, come on up with the sign, because it was supposed to be a prop before anyway. But this is, so this is what we're working on, right? It's KCMO, rental assistance, and these are all of the resources that we have with the city. And we're working with some important organizations, and this board actually helps me remember it. Metro Lutheran Ministries, Journey to New Life, Restart, a wonderful organization, the Community Assistance Council. We'll continue to work with more folks to make sure we can have these sorts of efforts ahead. Thank you. And so I could talk about this for a long time because I think at the core, this is what local government should do. A lot of people have asked us questions, what more can you do? And we continue to work with it. Yesterday, I actually visited several of our encampments where folks who are experiencing homelessness have set up, both at City Hall, on Southwest Trafficway. And I listened to people and I heard and talked to them about, well, why are you there? What have you been experiencing? One guy asked me, I want to be able to get job opportunities. Somebody else said, you know, I have a bit of an addiction problem. Where can I get help? That's why we're partnering with organizations like these. We understand sometimes it's more than housing. It's mental health. It's looking out for them. It's making sure they have a way that they can lift up themselves through jobs, educational resources. And that's why we're so excited to work with them. And I'll tell you this is just the beginning of so much more work that you will be seeing over the next year from Kansas City government. We have money, we're going to spend it well, we're going to spend it effectively, and we're going to make sure we make a difference. I wanted to make sure I hit a few other things. I guess I'm just talking, right? Is that it? Or
That's okay.
Or am I having, all right. I'll say this and then we'll bring up John, or we're going through the whole list.
Yeah, Mr. Wood.
All right. So we'll have John Wood, our Director of Neighborhoods and Housing Services, followed by Georgia Walker of Journey to New Life, Stephanie Boyer of Restart, Rachel Casey of Community Assistance Council, and Becky Poitras of Metropolitan Lutheran Ministries. As promised, I'll come back and say a little more. But Mr. Wood, take us away.
Just want to say a little bit about the link that we currently have. Ultimately, we will have an electronic application that all agencies that we're contracting with can access, and that application doing it will allow them to work with individual households who are eligible under this program. Today, right now, we have a one-pager using the link that the mayor just mentioned, and also if you go to kcmo.gov to Neighborhoods Department, and you'll see the first thing about help or rental help. It's the first link that you'll see on our page. That will also take you to that one-pager, your name, address, where you live, the unit, how much you think you owe in rent, and how much you think you owe in utility. That will put you on a waiting list, and then the agencies that we're contracting with, Journey to New Life, Restart, etc., will access that list and then pull people off of that waiting list to provide them the services that they need.
My name is Susie Rolling with Journey to New Life. Thank you so much for these funds. We have actually already spent $360,000 for housing assistance with COVID relief funds. We have served over 220 people/families. These are folks that some of them have experienced homelessness before in their life, others of which have never had this type of hardship in terms of financial hardship with rental assistance and utility assistance. This money we can spend it quickly. There are so many people in need. Thank you so much for the money, and we need more of it.
Amen.
To assist in helping the people of Kansas City that are so much in need right now. A lot of the folks that we have the opportunity to serve are working fast food or in the hotel business, or are single parents with children online school, so it makes it hard for them to maintain their employment, or their employment may not be paying them when they're home with their children. So we're not talking about people that owe a year's rent. We're talking about people that are 3 or 4 months behind, that are being threatened with evictions, even with the eviction moratorium. So it's very, very important, and we're trying to spend the money as efficiently and quickly as we can to relieve people of this financial burden, which then becomes an emotional burden.
Good afternoon, Stephanie Boyer, CEO at Restart. We are very excited to partner with the city to distribute these funds and all these other organizations. It is absolutely critical that we keep people housed. There are so many people that are calling for assistance. We saw through the course of the pandemic last year, we used to get 5 calls a day for emergency assistance. It quickly went to 25 calls a day. So the need is great. We are very excited to be able to help administer this and keep people from falling into homelessness. It is a system that is traumatic, and we want no one in this city to have to fall into. So it is absolutely critical, and we urge anyone that is concerned at all for any reason about their housing status to call. We will talk through it with you. If you're not eligible for this, we will figure out how to ensure to keep you housed. So please call. Thank you.
Hello everyone, Rachel Casey from Community Assistance Council. CAC is the front line of homelessness prevention in South Kansas City. Our goal is to keep people from becoming homeless in the first place. A year ago right now, we were getting about 25 phone calls a day for emergency assistance. Now, in the last 24-hour period, it was 130 phone calls. Families have been hit hard. We're trying our best to keep up and give everything that we can get, funds we can get in the door and back out the door to keep families in homes. I will note that the majority of calls we're getting now are people who are brand new to any kind of assistance. They're scared and don't know what to do. They haven't been through this before, and we're there to help. So thank you very much for the assistance. And my board member.
Hello, my name is Rodney Bland. As president of the board of CAC, Community Assistance Council, on behalf of the board, I want to say, Mayor, thank you. City Manager, thank you. John Woods, thank you. This is a great needed program, as Rachel has expressed, and we can't be more pleased to be able to help people in need. Thank you.
My name is Becky Poitras. I'm the Development Director with Metro Lutheran Ministry. We cannot say how thankful we are to have the ability to administer these very important and necessary rent and utility assistance funds to the residents of Kansas City, Missouri. We have been a proud partner of the City of Kansas City for numerous years, and to have the city put their trust in MLM, it speaks, I have no words. We love the fact that we are able to meet the needs of the homeless and at risk in our community. COVID really threw everyone for a loop. In 2019, MLM served over 26,000 individuals with all of our food and housing services. In 2020, we served over 56,000 individuals. Our CARES Act dollars helped families stay housed. We helped them to avoid homelessness. And with these new stimulus dollars, we're going to help even more families stay housed. If they're facing housing instability, whether it's in Kansas City south of the river or Kansas City north of the river, MLM has multiple locations that can serve these households. So thank you again to the community. Thank you to the mayor, the city staff for continuing to be important community partners with Metro Lutheran Ministry.
Just a few other comments. First, I love seeing all the development here in the 3100 block of Troost. You can see across the street, you can see back here. We're continuing to invest in our community, but with a lot of these organizations like Journey to New Life that I know been here for a while, that are making a significant difference for all of us. I also would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to my friend Sister Rose, who I know has, go ahead Sister Rose, who I know has been in this work for a while, for a little while.
She's one of our founders.
And we thank you so much for all that you've done. I promise one quick comment on vaccines, and then I'm happy to take questions on any topic. Today in Kansas City, you may recognize that we have a few different vaccine clinic opportunities, including one at the Garrison Center. We are putting out a notification for anybody who can get there to go get vaccinated, because we're running into this situation where we have extras. That to me actually presents in some ways a public policy concern. The idea being that when we have these one-offs, 300 here, 400 there, when you have different distribution networks every day, every week, then we're missing a lot of Kansas Cityans. We're doing things in a way that isn't clear, which isn't, as I think, consistent as it needs to be. That's why you saw earlier this week, I sent a letter to FEMA about getting more mass vaccination opportunities. I talked to the governor this week about more mass vaccination opportunities. Because it's great to say that there are 300 vaccines available right now. If you're somebody who's sitting on Twitter, you're sitting on the internet, you know what's going on. And that's why I've heard today that there are people who are in their 30s, in their 40s, wherever, that have been able to get these vaccination opportunities at a Walmart in Clinton, a vaccination clinic in KCMO, any other types of things. But that's not good enough to the many Kansas Cityans that aren't sitting in front of their computer all day. The many Kansas Cityans, particularly our senior Kansas Cityans, that are saying, I want to know some way that I can get signed up, that I can know that we have a sustainable plan for how we're getting to it. And every day in my office, we hear those sorts of concerns. People that are saying, I'm in my 70s, my 80s, my 90s. How can I get access to vaccine without me having to figure out one of 25 clinics left or right everywhere? Another thing that I've heard from some of the folks that are doing some of the clinics for us, they're also saying, can we get some monetary support? We might have gotten vaccine from the state of Missouri or from a hospital group, but we don't have the administrative side to handle it. We don't have the janitorial or service crews to clean it up. I mean, look, in many ways, this is a process that in some ways seems to be tuned with the Benny Hill theme. And I mean that in the way that you would think, which is that it's too much of a process that allows for randomness. It's too much of a process that allows for a lack of clarity. And while we'll do everything we can to amplify the many vaccination opportunities, the problem to me is this. Why not allow us to have more mass vaccination events? Why not allow us to have our health departments be able to lead in these sorts of areas in the same way they do with school immunizations every single year for Kansas Cityans of all income levels? And that's the way we can get to better consistency, and that's what we'll continue to call for. Up until that point, all of us, you, me, them, are going to have to be telling people, well, when they walk in, if they want a vaccine, stay tuned. Maybe on Wednesday there's a thing there. Maybe on Friday there's something somewhere else. That's not the clarity I think Kansas Cityans deserve. So, nevertheless, those are my topics. Anybody have any questions or comments?
I have a question, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Concerning Bartle Hall, the one that you introduced.
Yes, sir.
I want to commend you on that, because the need is definitely, you already know, right?
Yeah.
But I heard this here, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, okay? I heard that you're going to shut it down on the 16th of this month. That bothers me because where are all these people? You got over 450 people that's homeless. Where are they supposed to go?
Absolutely. Let me answer that question. So this is in relation to the Bartle Hall Warming Center, and actually the city manager's here. He deserves a lot of credit for helping us get that all arranged efficiently. We have a few different things that I think we're announcing in the next several weeks. One, or actually there are two different hotel opportunities in addition to one current hotel opportunity where we'll be providing not just housing, but something that I think and you would think is important is actually a lot of those wraparound services too. Access to medication, access to transportation, access to actually all of the things that help people get back on their feet.
Right.
And so that's something that's coming long before the warming center will be closed. In addition to that, we'll continue to have more money. So we're looking at $4.5 million of expenditures today in rental relief and assistance. That leaves us about $10 million more to make sure that we'll continue on those efforts. But what we absolutely will not do is just have a transition where we're telling everybody you got to get out, there's no solution.
Oh, okay, good.
Kansas City will make sure we take care of folks, and I think continue to be a regional leader in connection with that. Thank you.
All right.
I'll go here first. Yes, ma'am.
On the financing, when you talk about during this budget process,
Yeah.
KC Tenants has been very vocal about the Office for the Tenant Advocate.
Sure.
What do you want people to know about these partnerships and how they may address some of the concerns there?
Well, you know, here's the deal, and I just say this from knowing a lot of people who've called me about the assistance. I think the point that was made here is outstanding. There are a lot of people right now who don't necessarily need another bureaucrat, although I love public servants, but instead need help with 2 months of rent, may need help with 3 months of rent, need something to get by. And perhaps, you know, and I'll say this, and I've had the fortune or misfortune of living in that life before. It's funny, loud pickup trucks even in the middle of the city, right? It's something that's, anywhere you're in Missouri you can find it. But nevertheless, if you've ever just needed a few extra dollars to survive, if you've ever needed a few extra dollars to get by, this is the sort of program that can help you with that. We will continue to invest in a number of different things. Enhancements to our Office of Neighborhood and Housing Services so that we can address more issues that you hear tenants talking about. But we also want to make sure that we have money to help people right now, to help people today. Because me hiring somebody a year from now, right, there are good things we can do with that, but there are people who are saying right now, Mayor Lucas, I'm going to get kicked out of my place next month, 2 months later. So this is why we think this is such a vital bridge. One thing doesn't detract from the other. We can continue to have the best administrative tools and support for people, and we'll continue to work on this. But I also think it's very important to have $4.5 million to start in a way that helps somebody who's struggling today, to help somebody who just needs that extra help to stay in their place. When you talk to our friends in the public schools about things that challenge our students, one of the greatest factors is the fact that they're moving around all the time, that they're dealing with so many different issues going place to place. This is us trying to make sure that we have that stability so people can get to employment, so they can know their bus line, so they can do so much. And I said this with last year's budget in Kansas City, and I think it's still this way. Last year we passed the most equitable budget in the history of this city. And I think we continue, even in times of budget challenges, have zero fare transit, to invest in rental assistance, to invest in the warming center at Bartle Hall, and then future hotel opportunities. Those are the sorts of things that we'll continue to work on to make sure Kansas Cityans can be taken